Howdy everyone. So I wanted to make this video real quick because the first day of the Gundam Evolution network test was today. I got in about 3 or so hours of playtime, quite a few good matches. So I just really wanted to do a quick off-the-cuff talk about my thoughts about it, uh, and kind of the things I liked or didn't like, and everything like that. So first off, I'll say I did really enjoy the game. I'll be playing it for the rest of the network test, and I'll be playing it on release for sure. I'm really excited to see how the game progresses and how it evolves. Um, so I guess first off, what exactly is the game? It's a team-based shooter. Think in the same vein as like Overwatch or Team Fortress 2. You play as a bunch of different mobile suits. I think there's 12 in the game, maybe more. I'm not sure the exact count. But there's lots of different mobile suits that fill different roles, have different abilities, and then you have like an ultimate ability that you can use. Much like Overwatch, it takes a lot of things from Overwatch, and I mean that in the most endearing way possible. It is actually really really good, and I think it learns from a lot of things that Overwatch did. Um, so I guess the first thing is different mobile suits. Do they feel aptly different from each other? I think they do. Um, I would say the biggest problem I'm spying right now is the suits aren't really categorized in any particular way. As far as I can tell, there's really only one tank suit, the Sazabi, which is very very strong. It has a ton of health, and its gun shield is super good. And then the GM has like a shield as well, and then the Gundam has a shield as well. And I think those are really the closest things to tanks, I would really say. And then the rest kind of fall into this mid-range category. There's a GM sniper that's super good. We'll talk about that later. And then there are a couple melee suits. The Exia and the Barbados are both melee suits. The Sazabi is pretty. Anyway, there are some that have like shotguns in short range. Some are longer range. There's a pretty wide squadron that are covered here, with the exception of tank. In which case, I really think the Sazabi is the only one that actually covers that role. And even then, it gets melted pretty quick. So, as I said, this was just the network test. Things are going to change as the game actually comes out and the live release comes out, as updates come out. Um, I would say the biggest thing from the network test itself, from like a technical standpoint, is the lag is pretty brutal when it comes to the melee suits. Exia and Barbados are incredibly quick. They move around really fast, and their abilities are very, very fast. It makes it hard to keep track of, and they become real bouncy in lag, which becomes a point of difficulty. But otherwise, I would say technically the game works pretty well. I had a couple crashes on startup that I think were linked to my game capture in OBS. I have a feeling I may have to restart the game every time I um, want to stream it, because as soon as I like undid the game capture on OBS and launched past the first cutscene, I was able to re-show the or relink the OBS game capture. I'm hoping that's not a constant thing, but that was really the only like crashing issue I had. And after the first couple crashes, I didn't have any for the next 3 hours. So yeah, I would say the lag is the only real difficulty here. But hey, that's what a network test is for. So as far as the game itself, there are a couple different maps and modes that we have. We have think a two capture point style map from Overwatch, where each team gets a chance to capture 2 points or 1 point. I guess it is 2 points, yeah. Um, and then it can like end up going on for a really long time if both teams are very good at capturing. So that's definitely the longest one so far. There is a multiple like attack point map where you kind of like, there are three hills and they open up periodically. Think kind of like Halo King of the Hill, where like a random hill opens up after a few seconds, like 15 seconds or so. Um, and that's actually pretty fun. It's pretty hectic. And then there is a kind of like multi-stage one where you capture a waypoint, and then you capture one of two zones, and then you capture another waypoint, and then you capture one of two zones. I don't know what you would really equate it to. Maybe like Battlefield Rush mode, but a super toned down version of it, or it's even just like two capture point, but you like plant a. It actually is a lot like Rush mode, because you like plant a bomb even, and the team gets a chance to defuse it. I think actually all the game modes are super fun. Um, they're super hectic, but I think that's just a matter of people kind of feeling out the meta, feeling out the suits, feeling out what they like, feeling out how the map movement works. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. I would say mobility is the next thing that's pretty crucial. The melee suits have a ton of mobility. Some suits have vertical mobility. Mostly the sniper has like a jump pad you can place down, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, the suits don't really have a ton of vertical mobility. The Ashimar and the Methus can transform. There might be another one that can transform that I'm not remembering, which gives them a little bit of vertical mobility, but otherwise you have to seek out jump pads and stuff. Um, and that's kind of the way map movement works. You kind of have to just play to what your suit can do. It actually reminds me a lot of Overwatch, where the verticality characters can kind of move around a lot, and then everyone else has to walk up the stairs. I think it's actually interesting, and I think the maps actually accommodate that really well. From the 3 hours I played, again, these are pretty initial thoughts. Beyond that, there's health regen. So each suit has a different amount of health. Like I said, Sazabi's kind of the tank. I think it has the most health in the game, and I'm pretty sure its shield also has the most health out of all the shields, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But there's health regen along with health packs, and there's really only, I mean, there's a handful of suits that have like support healing capabilities. Um, but the suits also regenerate over time. I think they need to walk that back. I think they need to get rid of it entirely. Um, it makes flanking suits even stronger than they are. You're not really allowed to shoot off a flanking suit and they have to go get a health pack. They can just wait for 5 seconds for their health to regen enough, especially in the case of something like Exia that has a small health pool to begin with. It doesn't take much to heal it back up to full. So yeah, I would say that's my biggest gripe with like game flow is self-healing on the suits. It's a little awkward. It's not terrible though. It's like definitely workable, not an awful thing to have. So I guess the next thing that comes down to is how does the gunplay feel? The gunplay feels really good. Critical hits feel good. Um, Most of the abilities feel good. I had a bit of trouble with the Methus's gun. It felt a little laggy, but that might have been just a me thing. I don't want to say that. I think some abilities have projectile speed that's going to be a little bit to get used to. But yeah, overall, I think the shooting is super fun. The gameplay is super fun. Destroying a suit's super fun. The revive mechanic is actually super cool. So when a suit loses all its health, the enemy team has to like do a little bit more damage to finish it off, and in that time, allied suits can hold a button to revive, or some suits have like ranged revives or quick revives. I think that's a super cool mechanic, and I think that mechanic alone constitutes auto healing not being in the game. Um, there's a lot of like comeback potential. This is gonna be a weird comparison, but you know how Bloodborne has the rally system? It's kind of like that. Like if your team's pushing like a small choke, and maybe one of your Exia, like your Exia, gets downed or something, but if your team can push in right behind them, you can actually clear the path and get a revive up, and I think that's huge. The gun tank has a super fast revive. It feels like it's like a second or a second and a half. It's incredible. I think there's actually pretty cool outplays for that. As far as things you can do with it. So yeah, I would say the game looks super promising right now. I'm excited to see how the meta plays out. I would say right now the strongest suits, in my opinion, are and this is tough. Methus is very strong. It's got a ton of utility. Sazabi is super strong and one of the tankier suits in the entire game. At least from like a frontal direction. If you are able to split it, like put it in like a baseball pickle, then it's a lot easier to take down. It's actually kind of squishy. I think Exia is really good. Exia and Barbados are both interesting. I've never been super good at characters like, say, Genji in Overwatch, so I don't want to make any like outlandish claims. I feel like Exia is really strong. Exia has essentially 4 dashes, because its E ability is also a dash, and a stun. Barbados's stuns are very strong as well. So Barbados, I think if people can learn spacing, will be less potent than Exia, but in these early stages where people are really up in each other's faces, I think Barbados is super good. Or on the 3 capture point King of the Hill map, it's super good as well. So, Methus, Sazabi, Exia. I think GM Sniper is really good. That's actually something I want to touch on. GM Sniper is really, really good. I think it's because the movement in this game, outside of your like thruster dash, your movement's kind of slow. Like even when you're sprinting, your movement's still kind of slow. So I think GM Sniper has a lot of room to be really strong. Um, is it too potent? I don't know. It's pretty squishy, and with Exia and Barbados being as strong as they are, I think it kind of keeps it in check. So yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, it's interesting. I would say the network test is open till the 11th. If you got an invite, give it a shot. Try it out. It's pretty fun. It's super enjoyable. And if not, you can still apply on the network test website. If you just Google like Gundam Evolution network test, you'll be able to find the like place where you can put in to get an invite. And otherwise, the game I'm pretty sure is going to be free to play when it comes out. It's got microtransactions. It's got like a loot box system. As far as I can tell, it's not. You have to pay to unlock suits, which is something I don't like right off the bat. It's something Overwatch did well in keeping all the suits available to everybody, and it's one of the reasons why I didn't like Siege when I first started playing, was because we had such a limited roster. However, if the suit unlocks stay as they are in the network test, it's actually not all that obtrusive. I don't know how quickly you get the in-game currency. In the network test, they give you enough to unlock Marsai and Exia right away. But yeah, they are. It'll be interesting. There's a season pass. Not a fan of it. And then there's skins. The skins don't seem to be too brutal right now, but I am slightly worried. Likening it to Overwatch, Overwatch does a huge amount of effort in making sure their characters' silhouettes are pretty determinable. Like, you can tell the difference between all the suits. I don't think Gundam Evolution quite has that. The GM Sniper, I mean, it looks like a GM. It looks like the GM when the shield's not out. When the GM's shield is out, it looks a lot like the Gundam. And I think skins will only obfuscate that a little bit more. Luckily, all the other suits are like pretty manageable. They all look pretty different. So I don't think it'll be too big of an issue, but there just might be a visibility issue depending on the new suits if they bring in new suits and the skins they have for them. But overall, yeah, those are my first impressions for the game. This is a super early. I'll be uploading gameplay probably all weekend, so keep an eye out on my YouTube channel. Otherwise, here's my Twitch, and here's my Twitter. If you want to catch me there, you'll get Twitter updates and all my nonsense on that. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Try it out. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments what you think. And keep an eye out for more content from me about this game, because I'm loving it so far. So, thank you all.